I
Perfect.
okay. Soul Food right here on Smooth 98.1. We love music and we love life. You're welcome if you are joining us for the first time. What happens here every Saturday morning from 8 till 8:30 is that we discuss things related to your health and wellness, and we usually stream that live to YouTube. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. You can go right there now to see what is going on in the studio. Also, that affords you the chance of sharing with your family and friends, especially the ones who are not in the same time zone with you. Or if you want to go back to watch the video later on, you can always find it there. That is youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. Again, youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. I am doing something different. So for the first time in forever, I'm going live on my Instagram page because I feel this is a conversation that more people they need to have more information about it. So we are talking about the topic of veganism on the show today. And I do have my special guest. Before I introduce my special guest, in the 7 o'clock hour, we were answering questions on how the food inflation has affected your diet as a Nigerian, especially as a Nigerian, a Lagosian. And according to the report that we are talking about, it said that the cost of preparing stew, quality pot of stew, has increased. So I asked the question, and a number of interesting responses. I'll quickly take the last one before I segue into the show. So Samson says sometimes he tries to go for the other alternatives like chicken, but it's almost the same price. And so for those times when he needs to cook large stew with a longer duration, he tends to go for beef protein. That's the large quantity. Turkey and chicken comes in handy. So he also likes to buy major stocks like vegetable oil, tomato, and other essentials just to save the next stew preparation. Now, Ada says, yes, it is absolutely possible to eat fresh food every day. Weekly, buy your veggies fresh, use what you need for the day's meal, preserve the remaining naturally, no refrigerator needed. One can also switch from gas and PHCN to solar cooking. That's interesting. The sun shines every day. You can cook during the day. How will you do it? Do you take your food outside? Or you have the cookers that are powered by solar panels. She also said, also plant some veggies on your balcony, pluck what you need daily or every day, and most importantly, stay healthy. Thank you for that suggestion, Ada. Now, on that note, let's get started on the discussion this morning. We are talking about Vegan 101. How can you become a vegan? What are the meats and the facts? What happens when you have to switch over from eating meat to now eating plants, products, and the protein that comes from them? To discuss that this morning, I have someone who has been a vegan for quite a number of years, I believe over 10 years, if I'm correct. And she at some point was eating meat and decided to switch over. She is the founder of the Vegan Nigerian. She's a chef and she is a blogger as well. She's very much interested in travel and, well, the good life and eating healthily. And she is Tomi Makanjuola. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, joining me all the way from another time zone. It's
Yeah,
a pleasure to have you here.
thank you.
All right, so let's get started with understanding what veganism is. Now, I mentioned earlier that you definitely were eating meat at some point. In fact, from eating meat over 20 years to suddenly looking at a cute little dog, beautiful one, and saying, Lucky, I'll never eat you. What happened?
Yes, that is exactly what happened. So I was born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria. And as you can imagine, I went my whole life not really thinking too deeply about eating animals. And when I was at university, I found myself studying abroad in France for a year, and I lived with a family. So one aspect of my turning vegan, as you mentioned, was me sort of coming to this realization that, hey, how come we treat our pets differently to the way we treat other animals? Like, what is the difference when you look at a dog versus when you look at, say, a pig or a cow? And why should one be afforded compassion, whereas the other is sort of seen as just this piece of meat that should be on our plate, cut up for our consumption. And so sort of putting that two and two together, I felt hypocritical, right? I felt like a hypocrite being able to make that distinction between the two different types of animals. So that was one aspect of my wanting to go vegan. But the other part of it, I think for me, was definitely health. I wanted to feel more energized. I wanted better digestion, better skin, all of those amazing health benefits that you often associate with a plant-based diet. And I think for me, instinctively, going vegan seemed like the right way to achieve that. So it started with the health, it started with those philosophical questions about animals. And then I would say, as soon as I started to take it a bit more seriously and do my research, all of the other benefits I found just kind of came together and made sense to me. And I just made the switch almost
That's
overnight.
Now, let's get to understanding for someone who does not have an in-depth understanding of the definition of veganism. What does it mean to be a vegan?
Right. So veganism is a lifestyle which seeks to eliminate the use of animal products as far as possible. So it's about taking a stand against all forms of animal exploitation, animal use, animal cruelty. So really it starts with the animals and then it spreads to the different aspects of your lifestyle. So whether that's your diet, the way you dress, so that means not using fur or leather in your clothing, even the products you use, some products are tested on animals. So a vegan would seek to use products that haven't been tested on animals. So it's different from vegetarianism. Vegetarians, they still eat some animal products like eggs. They still eat dairy, like milk, cheese. But vegans, we completely eliminate all animal products.
It's interesting because, like you mentioned, vegetarian, there are people who probably don't eat any animal product. But the fact that you're not just saying it's beyond you eating, or it's beyond you eating, rather. It's about you saying you're mindful of animals. But that has been debated because they say even the animals you're staying away from eating eats themselves.
They do, but that's why we are the more evolved species, right? In a sense. I know it seems a bit high and mighty to say that, but as human beings, we've come to a point in our evolution where we can survive actually without exploiting animals. The way we exploit animals in this day and age, pack all of them in industrial farms. There's an incredible amount of cruelty that goes into their production. We're overbreeding them. Our planet is suffering as a result of the way we're over-industrializing our meat production process. And so if you're looking at it from that lens, from a logical human lens, you say, what can we do better about our food system? What can we do to reduce our impact on the planet? What can we do to improve our health? What can we do to limit our cruelty, and show more compassion to the world around us? And veganism, in my opinion, is one of the best ways that you can do that. For me, as a modern day human being who isn't sort of living on a farm where you can count all your chickens, so to speak. You know what I mean?
All right, then. So we will get to understand what the benefit of being vegan and what you should even consider before you decide to go vegan right after this. You're listening to Soul Food right here on the station that loves music and loves life. We are Smooth 98.1. I see the phone lines buzzing. Don't worry, I'll take your calls and messages after this. And remember that if you'd like to send a message, it's WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 0809-444-0981. While you can also call 01448-9981. I'll take the calls after this. And most importantly, can stream live via the website, and that will be smooth91.fm. And we're also live on YouTube. YouTube is youtube.com/smooth91FM Lagos. 98.1. Okay, so just a brief break, and when we come back, we start to talk about the benefits of being vegan, and then what should you consider? You want to say something? Yeah, okay. And there was something I raised before you came on when I was talking about the cost of food and inflation. I said, is it possible for a person to think about being a conditional vegan where because they do not have money to afford meat products, they decide to switch out their meat product, their chicken, turkey, and you never can tell. Maybe it can become a lifestyle after that. Just by the way, though.
You never know.
So, yep, after that, we talk about building the lifestyle.
Okay.
Instagram, it's been forever. You're listening to Smooth 98.1. And if you did not know that, we also have another show that is dedicated to your health and wellness. Well, that airs every Thursday from 5:15 on the Smooth Drive. I'd like to hear what this person who is my caller is saying. But before that, you're listening to the conversation on soul food, where we are talking about veganism, the lifestyle. And my guest is the Nigerian vegan who is a chef as well as a blogger. She is Tomi Makanjuola. If you'd like to call, dial 014489981. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and location?
I'm Adiola from Sulere.
All right, thank you for calling. What would you like to say?
I'm thinking of the effect of the inflation on the elderly.
Okay.
In terms of what they eat. I have been on a ketogenic diet, and that is a ketogenic diet is high protein, low carb, and kind of medium fat. So I started, because the protein is very expensive now. So I tried to eat fish once in a week because I cannot even afford a chicken and even beef meat. I can't eat beef because it's very expensive. I take ugu as my vegetable. I take before I used to buy olive oil, but now I cannot afford even to buy because a single bottle of olive oil is almost it was 1,000 naira now, a small one. So things are very expensive, but I'm adjusting. So this is I'm looking for substitute. Sometimes I'll buy coffee. So I include coffee in my diet. My staple is beans. My staple food is beans. So I'm asking for people over 65, 70, they should stop eating anyhow. This is an opportunity to know what they should put into their mouth, because if you eat anything, you get sick. It's what you put into your mouth that tells who you are.
That's true.
Why.
Thank you.
That's why.
Thank you for calling. And maybe when you keep listening, you probably find other alternatives as well. Thank you for sharing that. Now, back to the conversation. Let's talk about the benefit of being vegan, Chef Tomi. You mentioned that you wanted to feel healthier, lighter, less slower, and of course, better skin. So what are the benefits of going vegan?
Sure. So let's talk about the health side of things first, because I know that for a lot of people, that can be the entryway to veganism is, the health benefits. And, when you're eating mostly plants, you find that you are taking in a lot more fiber, more vitamins, more minerals naturally without you even trying. And these have been shown to aid, overall health in terms of your cardiovascular health. It limits your chances of developing heart disease, kidney disease, different types of the two types of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, I should say, actually, and some types of cancer. So when you look at the health benefits of sort of eating mostly plants, it's sort of a no-brainer. And this is if you're approaching veganism from the point of eating whole foods, whole natural foods. No one is saying go vegan and eat, a big plate of fried potatoes all day, because there are ways to be unhealthy as a vegan as well. So you do need to watch your nutrients, make sure you're balancing all your ingredients to make sure you're getting the optimum diet. And then, of course, we can stray into the other benefits, such as the benefits on the planet, like I sort of touched on a little bit before. You lower your carbon footprint. It takes less carbon to create plant foods than it does to create meat. So you would be sort of helping the planet to be a much greener, sustainable place as well. So those are sort of two main areas that seem to catch people's attention in this day and age, the health and the sustainability, the environmental aspect. And then, of course, if you're sentimental like me and you care about animals, then it's an amazing way to take a stand against exploitation and sort of say, hey, I want to live a more compassionate life, and this works for me.
I'd like to ask about the animals part. Now,
Sure.
have you ever had to question yourself sometimes and ask if your vegan lifestyle is actually contributing to the larger frame of things? Do you think this is making so much impact? Like the fact that I have decided to be a vegan, do you think it's having the impact you'd love to?
So I think there is still a very long way to go. This is a collective effort thing. But I think the thing that stops some people sometimes from even taking any action is believing that their choices don't matter. That, hey, I'm just a single human being. What is me giving up meat going to have? What impact is that going to have on a larger scale, as you ask, right? But if you sit down and you allow yourself to be paralyzed by that question, you never change anything. Nothing ever moves forward. The future generations never get to learn about this lifestyle. And so I think it's important for all of us to, first of all, take a look in the mirror, see what we can do, what we can change. Of course, our government has, a large part to play in our food system. Big companies have a large part to play. A lot of them are profiting off of the fact that, there's a huge demand for animal products. And so we as consumers, we have more power than we think. We can actually vote with our dollar, quote unquote. So if we all, decided to wake up one day and decided not to support the industry anymore, of course, they would have to adapt. They would have no choice. And so I do think the individual choice, the choice I'm making, is probably maybe a drop in the ocean, but it's still making a bit of a difference, I think.
That's a good way to look at it. Now, I mentioned earlier how you can be a conditional vegan. I don't know if that word exists, but I think I just created it. What are some of those things you need to consider before saying I want to embark on the vegan lifestyle?
Yes, so of course, you do need to do your research, figure out what it is, what it entails. The idea of a conditional vegan is, in theory, quite a nice sentiment, I guess. But I guess hardcore vegans would argue with you and say that a true vegan is someone who completely eliminates animal products in all aspects of their life, and not just for a short period of time because, they have no choice. For those people, you might want to give them the label of plant-based, which is very different from vegan. And someone who is plant-based may occasionally indulge in animal products here and there, but veganism itself is sort of a whole lifestyle and philosophy. And so if you're thinking of going vegan, of course, you need to think about what you're going to eat, make sure your meals are balanced, make sure that what you're buying hasn't gone through any form of animal exploitation.
In a culture that is, or generally the world is obsessed with meat, if you know what I mean. But in a place like Nigeria, where we love our meats, we love it. In fact, when there is a party, if you do not have your meats, your asun, your chicken, your grilled turkey, all meats of kind, all those things, or you go to a typical Black American gathering and outing and you don't have meats, they'll ask if you're okay. So let's start with Nigeria. How do you formulate your diet or plan your meals as a Nigerian, and taking into consideration, like you mentioned in the beginning, that it's not just about cutting out meats from your product, but those things that you use, your clothing and all of that, you might not it might not expressly be stated that these things have been tested on animals or this is a proceed of animal. So how do you actually stay faithful as a
Mm.
Nigerian vegan?
Oh, it can be tough, especially because in Nigeria, a lot of the meals, especially if you're eating at restaurants, they have these hidden non-vegan ingredients, whether it's the beef stock or the crayfish that has been added in there. So first thing I would say is, fall in love with cooking. If you have the ability to shop for your own meals, veganism, you don't have to break the bank. It's buying all the regular ingredients you normally do, your rice, your beans, plantain, potatoes, whatnot, all the different veg. So stock up on all the ingredients you need or the healthy ingredients you need, and then just have fun trying different recipes, experiment, use different flavorings, different spices, seasonings to achieve the same flavors as you would if you're cooking with meat. But of course, you're replacing the meat with other plant-based protein sources or other vegetables, right? So, yeah, I would say as a starting point, definitely fall in love with cooking. And then don't be afraid to just simply adapt your already well-known and loved dishes. Just because you're going vegan doesn't mean you now have to start eating completely foreign foods. That wasn't the case for me. When I went vegan, I was very adamant that I would continue eating all the foods I loved. So I still eat jollof rice, but instead of packing it with chicken on the side, maybe I'll have plantain, moi moi, salad, all the things that are familiar to me, but are still plant-based, if that makes sense.
Yep, it does. Now, have you ever had situations where you looked at the meat, the smell of the chicken, the brownness of the turkey, and you thought, oh, I wish I could just take a bite of that because you remember the taste. I mean, you were omnivorous for the better part of your life growing up. So you definitely will remember the taste. So have
Oh,
there
yeah.
been times where you got so tempted?
You know what's funny? You might not believe me, but no, no. Um,
Why?
and the funny thing is, I thought I would. That first year when I went vegan, so as I said, I was living in France, and then I came home for that Christmas holiday. And, around Christmas, everyone's cooking. I think my mom had made a pot of chicken stew. And I thought to myself, you know what, I might just break it this one time for this holiday. And then when I go back, I can like get back on the vegan train. But as soon as I got home and I just saw those pieces of chicken, it was like a switch had flipped in my brain where I no longer saw just meat. I saw body parts. I know that sounds very like graphic. I'm
Graphic.
sorry. Yeah,
Yes, it
I'm
does.
sorry it sounds very graphic, but it's the reality, right? It's basically chicken cut up into parts. And so because I had made that mental switch where I no longer saw animals as just mere food anymore, I was kind of repulsed by it. And so since then, I don't really have that desire for it. Now, I will tell you what I do miss. Sometimes I miss things like chocolate, like non-vegan chocolate or non-vegan yogurt, for instance, milk. But thankfully, as time has progressed, they've come out with all kinds of alternatives that are just as similar, as close to, the real quote unquote real thing. So I don't feel like I'm really missing out.
So what words will you have for someone who sometimes still feels like they're missing out?
Oh, I would say it's a journey. Don't worry, it's natural to feel that way. I would never like shame anyone for feeling that way. Um, Go at your own pace for sure, because that is what makes it more sort of lifelong, more lasting. Surround yourself with good inspiration, whether that's online, following people who are living the lifestyle successfully and who can give you the tips and the advice that you need to sort of break through. Definitely look for alternatives too. You'd be very, very surprised at how good some of the alternatives are. So for instance, if you're missing milk, for instance, there's coconut milk, there's cashew milk, there's oat milk. There's so many varieties. Try different ones, see which one you like, which one comes close to what, suits your palate. And don't give up.
Okay, let's get to the part where we're trying to clear some myth and some things that have been wrongly believed about the vegan lifestyle. What are some of them? Number one, I think number one will be that you'll miss out on nutrients if you are a vegan.
And that doesn't have to be the case at all. It's very possible to be on a non-vegan diet and be deficient. It's possible to be on a vegan diet and deficient. It's all about your knowledge, right? So, one thing I would say for anyone, back to what I said before, do your research. Figure out the different food groups, first of all. Figure out how you can balance your plate. So we all know that a healthy plate contains some carbohydrate, it contains some protein, healthy fats, it contains vitamins and nutrients through your fruits and your veggies. So as long as you're mixing and matching different ingredients every day, eating a variety of plant whole foods, you really can't go wrong in terms of your health, you know? Yeah. I think I've lost you. Hello?
Listening to us for the first time, are you back? This is Soul Food on Smooth 98.1, and we are talking about veganism. So my guest is a chef, Tomi, and she is a vegan, a Nigerian, and a chef. And she's talking about some of those myths that are associated with being vegan. So you were saying?
Yeah, so we were talking about the nutrients, right?
Yes.
And how you can balance your plate and make sure that you're getting all of the major food groups, including all the vitamins and nutrients and minerals that are needed to sustain a healthy body. Which leads on to, I guess, a really common one that you've probably heard a lot about protein, that if you're vegan, you're probably not going to get enough protein. Now, one thing I should say is that it is extremely difficult to have a protein deficiency. Protein exists in so many ingredients that a lot of people might not even think about. So you have your obvious plant-based sources like beans, pulses, you have your nuts and your seeds, right? But you've also got even leafy vegetables have some form of protein. Brown rice can have some protein in there. As long as you're eating, like I said, a rainbow of vegetables and fruits, you're going to get your protein sources. But if you're particularly, concerned about it, just up your level of pulses and things like beans and other grains, and you're going to be fine.
Will it be safe to say that before you go on the vegan lifestyle, you need to go to have a proper health check to know the state of your health?
It's very good to do that, yes. So one thing I did as well, which I would recommend everyone does, is I go for like periodical checks, right? To make sure that my vitamin levels are good, my blood levels are good and everything. And I'm happy to report that so far it's been great, good results across the board. So that shouldn't be something that makes you afraid, sort of going vegan. Try it out and see how you feel. You might feel better. But I do want to say one important thing, though, a lot of people might not think about, is that when you go on a vegan diet, one of the vitamins that can be difficult to get as a vegan is vitamin B12. Now, even as a meat eater, some meat eaters might not be getting the adequate amount. And so most nutritionists will tell you, or dietitians will even tell you to supplement anyway with a multivitamin that contains B12. So anyone should be doing that, whether you're a meat eater or not. But especially if you're vegan, you need to make sure that you're getting a good source of vitamin B12 because that's really important for your health, for your sort of your neurological health.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now, if you were to give final recommendations to someone who is still thinking about parting with meat and every other thing that comes with animals, what would it be?
Oh, well, I would say just trust your instincts. Look at the people who are doing it successfully, learn from them, join a good community too, because it can be very lonely, you know, especially if you're going to the parties, you're going to the gatherings, and you're the only vegan there, and everyone's sort of looking at you thinking, why aren't you, why aren't you eating normally like the rest of us? It can be quite isolating sometimes. And so, you know, if you can find a nice community, whether that's online or in person, I know that even in Nigeria, we have a vegan group. There's a Lagos Vegan Meetup. They meet up regularly. They have potluck dinners and they have events you can go to. So immerse yourself in the community, in the lifestyle, and have fun, like I said. Just yeah, give it a try and see.
Now, before I let you go, what if you mistakenly eat something that is not vegan, maybe as a result of being somewhere and family gathering, you know, it's almost December, Thanksgiving, and the rest. So what if you mistakenly eat something or use something that has been used on animals?
It's okay. We're human beings. We're not perfect, and vegans are certainly not perfect human beings. And I don't think anyone would try to even claim that perfection, right? There are times where maybe without knowing, you've mistakenly eaten something that has maybe some stock in it or whatever, you know, against your knowledge, of course. So back to the definition of veganism is as far as is possible and practicable, right? So you're going in with good intentions. You're saying, this isn't something I want to do. If it happens mistakenly, just brush it off, start again, move on, and yeah, keep it moving.
Okay. When you fall, get up again and keep moving. I think one thing I wanted to say earlier is that probably it will fall under the reasons why you shouldn't go vegan. I think you shouldn't go vegan because everybody's doing it or because it's a fad or because it looks cool, right? You should have
I
solid
agree.
reasons and be honest about it.
I agree. You know, in this age of social media, celebrity worship, um, you know, when we see the stars doing it, it can seem attractive, right? Especially when they're attaching it to some sort of weight loss regime. Or when you go on Instagram and you see the fancy food, the fancy plating, and you're like, oh, let me sort of eat this way because it seems aspirational. I've found that often that's not a solid enough reason. So yes, you do need a strong conviction. It has to be like a personal choice. It has to be something that really means something to you. That's the only reason why I've been able to last as long as I have, honestly, is by making sure it was a deeply held conviction. Mm.
Thank you, Chef Tomi, for your time and presence this morning. I'm sure somebody has learned better about the vegan lifestyle and maybe reasons why they should consider it. To catch up with you and have an idea of your many recipes, I think I stumbled on one part where you talked about preparing plantain in 40 ways or 20 ways.
Yes, yes. I have a cookbook called Plantain Cookbook. And I also
Wow.
have a cookbook called Vegan Nigerian Kitchen. So that's for anyone who wants to learn how to adapt traditional Nigerian recipes. So they can check that out
Okay. What's your handle again?
at Vegan Nigerian, or you can go to my website, vegannigerian.com.
All right. Thank you for your time and presence this morning, Vegan Nigerian.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah, I hope you have more good time in the vegan month, educating and spreading the awareness about the lifestyle and debunking myth as well.
Yes.
Enjoy the rest of your morning and
Thank
hopefully
you.
it's not too cold over there.
Oh, we'll deal with it. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, we are done for today on Soul Food on Smooth 98.1. Next week is another time to catch up and to know what we will be discussing about your health and wellness. But you know, we'll save the video for you if you are a part of the YouTube family, youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. But at 8:40, it will be the time to have fun with the children on Curious Minds. You should join us, or at least allow them to join us. As long as they're between 6 to 15, even you as the adult, you can learn and have fun while you are there. So make sure you do not miss out on it. It's almost time. This is Smooth 98.1.
Mind and the rest will follow. We start with vegan.
Thank you, Vegan Nigerian. It's such a cool tag. You're muted, by the way.
Healthy
Oh,
mind,
okay.
healthy
How's
body,
that?
healthy life.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Do have a lovely day.
And you too. Take care.
Bye.